As the hysteria around coronavirus carries on, and as the apparent world is just shut right down, I think a lot of people are simply waiting on just to see how this all plays out. Nobody really knows how long this is going to go. Nobody really knows where this is going to take us. And it's got me extremely concerned. Well, concerned on a health issue for sure. That's a completely different layer that I'm talking about here. I'm going to speak specifically towards the financial implication this situation has towards our farm. Problem is, I mean, we can wait it out for a couple months and see where it goes and then react to it at that time. The problem is, our farm doesn't have the luxury of waiting that long. We're going to start putting a crop in right smartly here, which involves a shit ton of investment. And just the risk associated with carrying on normal business activity, it's kind of got us extremely concerned about the survival of our farm. The government has provided a little bit of assistance on, extending out our credit, maybe forgiving one payment on our long-term loans, which is fine because when you look at like a 10 or 15 or 25-year mortgage and you simply take that principal portion and throw it on the backside, you're just extending that loan for another year. You're still considering all the costs of maintaining that debt, but you're just moving that principal payment further down. And in the whole scheme of things, paying down long-term debt, adding another year like that, just delaying or deferring the principal payment doesn't make a whole lot of difference towards your debt structure. But when you're talking about investment into operating expenses, when you're talking about investment in short-term liabilities like operating capital, operating expenses, that's something that can't be deferred. Like if we drop, let's say, $1.5 million into the crop that's ahead of us, and let's say we do proceed to have a good crop, but the markets haven't recovered, and we can't effectively market that crop to be able to cover all the investment we put into it, we still have that operating capital to pay back, and that's something that can't be deferred until the next year. And if you simply do that, you just compound the problem until the next year and you'll become insolvent. It's just a matter of that. So, I mean, as a farmer, we're faced with this situation every year, not knowing whether or not our investment's going to get paid back at the end of the year. It's just, this is something completely different. This is something that could just completely wipe the existence of our business off the face of the earth. Just, if we don't watch how much investment we put into the farm as we proceed to grow the crop. So we're kind of staggered. We're not sure what to do. Other than, well, we run the risk of investing in managing as usual and just assume or hope that everything blows over and markets rebound by the end of the year when we start having to market the crop and pay back some of our debt. Or we take the risk of not investing into the year and just going bare minimum and not grow the crop. And we risk of not being able to take advantage of opportunity, but more so, if we don't invest into the growing crop, we're not going to grow a crop, so we're not going to be able to gather enough to be able to make those payments anyways. So there's a lot of stress and consideration that has to be made to our ongoing actions here on the farm. But anyways, that is just a little bit of a preamble to what I actually wanted to talk about. As we go, I'm going to be putting my bees out in a couple of weeks or so here, right smartly, and the honeybee year is going to start. And, in the spirit of saving as much money as we can and investing our money as wisely as we possibly can, in the spirit of, trying to measure the amount of money you put in to the amount of money you get out. It's something that I've really had difficulty with the honey business, especially with, not so much with sugar. Like sugar, you can see they're hungry. If you don't feed them, they starve, they die, right? So sugar is something that we're on top of all the time. The question is with protein supplement. Like all these years, I've pounded the table on saying the importance of protein. Give it to your bees. This is something we have to do to help maintain our stock healthy, to help maintain our healthy stock, and to, just to provide some action to be able to bridge uncertain circumstances throughout the spring as they're developing, a very important time during a honeybee's development in the year. So what I've been doing is I've been putting patties down. A lot of it has been like on a point of prevention, I guess, preventative action. So I have the patty on there, have it on all the time. So when that circumstance or situation comes where they're all of a sudden protein stressed, they can access that patty just within an instant like that. And it's worked really well for me. But these patties that this crazy New Brunswick Beekeeper has got me mixing up here are extremely attractive to these bees. So they're consuming the patty, they must be putting it down in the brood. Pollen starts flowing in. Those bees are still active on those patties. They're still consuming it and bringing it down. Where a typical patty you have on, the bees completely ignore the patty up top and they go and bring the pollen and access the pollen. So it's got me thinking of two ways. Maybe that's exactly what I want. I want them to have that steady diet of those bulk nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and all that jazz. Have that accessible to the bees at all times to be able to balance out that diet coming in. Or I should mainly focus my supplemental feeding on just the specific times through the year which I can truly identify as a point in time when they need that supplement to be able to help them bridge certain circumstances like weather, let's say, or pollen dearths or whatever. And by doing that, I'd put a lot less supplement on the colony and save some money. So what I'm going to do this year, just to see if there is actually any measurable benefit of having that patty on the colony at all times, I'm going to be mixing a lot of these supplement that I got this crazy recipe. It's just absolutely brilliant. And we're going to mix it for the entire operation. And I'm going to continue my protein strategy on from last year. I think there's three groups of 40. And then I'm going to put another group where I feed only when I identify times through the spring and through the fall which they need that supplement. And then I'm going to run the rest of my apiary, but I'm going to monitor a yard that I have patty on all the time. So I'm going to continue my trial on with that crazy New Brunswick Beekeeper because it is so fascinating. But I'm going to extend it a little bit further just to see if I can, if I can identify whether or not having the patty on there all the time provides more benefit, or just putting it on exactly when they need it. And by doing it exactly when they need it, my idea is I won't be using as much supplement to give to the bees. I won't be feeding as much. I won't be spending as much. So for my study last year, my results I got back, they're kind of crude because this is just a beekeeper's experiment, right? I found an effectiveness to having the patties on the colony between the treatment patty and the negative control, which is like no patty. I found a 10% edge throughout the entire spring. This year, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to see if I can maintain that 10% edge, but I'm also going to see if that 10% edge also translates onto my extended trials here, where I'm target feeding as compared to mass feeding. So I'm going to be involving, so it'll be 5 yards anyways I'm going to track, which will equate to about 200 or 300 hives. So I'm looking forward to it. I have my supplements ordered. They should just about be here. I expect everything to be here by next week. We're going to start mixing. And hopefully by middle or the end of next week, I'll have a little bit more of an idea on when I can actually get these bees outside. Right now it's like -17 outside right now, so it's a little bit cold yet. But next week is supposed to get milder, so I should be able to clean off my pad, get some yards kind of, scraped down, and I should have a better idea as we get to the end of March here when I should be able to set these hives out. One good thing about this winter and this spring so far is this winter has been very mild, so it's been very easy, but it's been very consistent too, so there hasn't been these big temperature fluctuations. So I've been able to maintain the temperature in my shed just absolutely exactly to the temperature I have set on the module, and that I think just helped the bees endure the winter a little bit better. And as we drift into spring here, we haven't had those temperature fluctuations where that shed's gone up over 10 degrees and where the bees have got really active. I haven't experienced that yet. So the bees are sitting very calm, and they look good actually. And that's quite the comment to be made by me middle of March. Usually this time of year I'm absolutely freaking out because I'm seeing stress being influenced within my winter shed. I'm not seeing that yet this year, which is very encouraging. But I got to get my ass in gear here and start preparing to move bees out, because that's going to happen just like that. And I got to be prepared for it. So I got a few things to do in my truck yet. And I just got to get my mental state back into beekeeping. And I can't wait.